Well, hello and very good warm welcome to yet another episode of the video lectures. I'm hoping that you all are doing fine. Everyone in your family is also doing fine, and you all are enjoying this lockdown. Also, hoping that everything is going on well. You all are studying a bit. Not to mention a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening to all of you. Um, Now, continuing or for standard 8 in geography, continuing from the previous lecture, when we were doing about the physical features of Asia, we were trying to look at the map of Asia and trying to understand the how to read a map or how to understand a map. Now, with the help of a map or with the help of the physical map of Asia, we'll be trying to do the physical features of Asia, and we'll be trying to locate them, we'll be trying to understand them, we'll be trying to look at them, and also we'll be trying to look at their extent, their boundaries. When we talk of rivers, then we'll be understanding from which places the rivers originate from or to which place the river drains into. So all that will be done uh, in the or we'll be doing that in a map. So let us just go on into the map and read the or let us do the physical features of Asia. So here again we have the map of Asia, the physical map, and this is the physical map because we're doing the physical features. So what do we have in the physical features or the main or the distinct or the dominant physical features of Asia? The dominant physical features of Asia are the northern lowlands, the southern plateaus, the island groups or the archipelagos, the central highlands, and the great river basins. Now let us just see if we can locate them. The first comes the northern lowlands. When we talk of the northern lowlands, we have the Siberian Plains, as you can see over here, the Siberian Plains over here. We also have one plains or the other plain land is over here near the Aral Sea. We'll be discussing it and we'll be doing it just later in the video. Next, we have the Central Highlands. When we talk of the Central Highlands, if we look at the central part of Asia, we'll find that there's a lot of orangish brown color and that brown color. So these indicate the highland areas. These contain so many mountain ranges, so many high plateaus. So these are the mountain ranges, and these are the ones which are included in the Central Highlands. Next comes the southern plateaus. In the southern plateaus, we have the most one of the most important for us, the Deccan Plateau. Again, after that, we have this Arabian Plateau over here, the Arabian Plateau. Then we have also the Plateau of Iran. We also have other plateaus like you can see over Yunnan Plateau. There are a lot of plateaus. The Korat Plateau. We'll be doing all these or a few of these plateaus in detail. Next, we have the Great River Basins. The Great River Basins are the most fertile areas. One of the most important over here, we have the Indo-Gangetic Plain. We also have the river basin of the river Indus. We also have the Brahmaputra Basin, the Brahmaputra River, as you can find over here. We have the Great Plains of China, the plain lands, the basin land, which is again drained by rivers, the Huanghe River. We also have the plain or the basins of the river Tigris and Euphrates, as you can see over here, Tigris and Euphrates over here. So these are a few great river basins which we find in Asia. And lastly comes the island groups or the archipelagos. As we were doing in the previous chapter, Asia has so many islands and island groups. Over here we have the Indonesian group of islands. Then over here we have the Philippines. We also have Japan and the Japanese group of islands. So there are a lot many island groups in the continent of Asia. So let us just start with the first part or the first physical feature, that is the northern lowlands. When we talk of the northern lowlands, these are located actually in the northern parts of the name itself tells us that it is located in the northern parts of uh, Asia, and mostly it is located in the Russian part at the boundary. Whenever we discuss about the physical features or whenever we are discussing a map, we always look at the boundaries surrounding a certain area, a certain country, a certain physical feature. So what are the boundaries over here which we find of the northern lowlands? The northern lowlands lies over here. The lowland color is found or washed in green over here. So the lowlands, the lowland colors have their boundary over the northern boundary is the Arctic Ocean. As you can see, the Arctic Ocean is the northern lowlands boundary, the northern boundary. And then we have the central highlands, the lower boundary or the southern side. As you can see, the northern lowlands over here. So when we look at the northern lowlands, the green parts are having the or is having the Arctic Ocean as the northern boundary, and in the south we have these mountain ranges. So the central highlands over here is being the southern boundary of these northern lowlands. Next, also we have over here we have the Bering Sea, which is over here. If you can see properly, the Bering Sea. So Bering Sea is one of the Bering Sea over here, the Sea of Vostok. These seas over here form the boundary towards the eastern side, and towards the western side, if we see, we have the Caspian Sea over here, which is forming the boundary, the Caspian Sea, the Ural Mountains. So these are forming the boundaries of the or the western boundary of the northern lowlands. So the northern lowlands basically are divided into two plain lands or two areas: the Siberian Plains, the Siberian Plains over here, the Siberian Plains, and the Turan Plains in the southwest. The Turan Plain lies somewhere over here near the over here. As you can see, we have the Aral Sea. So this area is the Turan Plain, and over here we have the Great Siberian Plains. So the Siberian Plains, this whole area, entire area is the Siberian Plain area. Let us do the Siberian Plains first. When we talk of the Siberian Plains, well, the Siberian Plains happen to be the largest continuous plain of the world and extends. If we now let us look at the extension of the Siberian Plain. So the Siberian Plain extends from, as you can see, the Ural Mountains over here. So the Ural Mountains are forming one boundary of the Siberian Plain, the Ural Mountains over here. And if you all remember, Ural Mountains also are the or also serves as the boundary between Asia and Europe, the land boundary. So this Ural Mountains over here is also bordering and is also being a boundary of acting as a boundary of the Siberian Plains, and it extends from these Ural Mountains to the Verkhoyansk Range. The Verkhoyansk Range over here, the Verkhoyansk Range, I think it is clear to everyone. The Verkhoyansk Range. So the it is, this plain land is bordered between two mountain ranges, the Ural Mountain Range and the Verkhoyansk Range. And similarly on the north it has the Arctic Ocean, and in the south it has the central the central highlands. So this next, as it starts this the Siberian Plains. The Siberian Plain actually is, you can find that Siberian Plain is ranging all around this Arctic Ocean coast. It is moving around this Arctic Ocean coast, and it is extending up to the Bering Sea over here. The Bering Sea, you can see it. So the Bering Sea over here. So this Siberian Plain is throughout this coastal area from the Arctic Ocean coast and reaching up to the Bering Sea coast over here. And it is a if you look one more, there's one more feature. If you look of the Siberian Plains, one more important feature which you can find in this Siberian Plain is, you will find that Siberian Plain over here is wider towards the west, and as it goes towards the eastern side it becomes narrower. So this is one more important feature of these Siberian Plains. It is wider in the western side, and as it moves towards the northern side it becomes narrower. You can see in the western side it is wide, but as it is moving towards the east it becomes narrow. So this is another important feature of this Siberian plainland. Next, if you this, what are plainlands actually formed of? Plainlands are actually formed when rivers, because of their annual flooding, as you all know, or if you all do not know, just one thing: the rivers, when they move down from the mountainous areas, they are actually eroding the mountains, and as they are moving, they are eroding the mountains, the soil around it, and the banks. It is eroding the banks too. So it is all that eroded material, all that eroded material is called sediment. So all that sediment is carried by the river, and at times when the river overflows its banks, or at times when there is flooding, what happens is all the silt and all the deposition and all the sediment which the river was carrying is deposited on both sides of the banks. So these forms plain lands or plain land areas. So this deposition by the rivers form the plain land area. So when we look at the Siberian Plains, these are drained by, or three important rivers deposit their silt and sediment in this Siberian Plain area, and these depositions have given rise to these plains. So what are the rivers? If we can locate them, we'll find that there are actually three rivers over there. The rivers are Ob, Yenisei and Lena. So if you can find, you will find over here. Okay, so you can find over here the river Ob. You can find the river Ob. See over here the river Ob. Next, moving on, we have river Yenisei. The river Yenisei over here, the river Yenisei moving up and going and draining into the Arctic Ocean. If you all have ever any problem in understanding from where does a river start and where does it drain into, so always look for any highland area, any mountain or a plateau. The river will always be starting from any mountainous area or a plateau area. So where is the mountainous area? It is of river Ob, if I'm talking of river Ob, or if I'm talking of river Yenisei, and over here of river Lena. So when I'm talking of these Ob, Yenisei, Lena, you can find that in the southern part of these rivers you have the highland areas. So these rivers, you all know that rivers or water moves from the higher areas to lower areas. So over here also rivers will be following the same rules. So it will be moving from these higher plateau or highland areas to the low lying areas near the ocean. So over here these three rivers are originating in these central highland areas and draining into the Arctic Ocean area, Arctic Ocean. So this over here you can find over here the delta of the Lena. You'll find, so most of them are forming deltas over there. So river Yenisei also forming a delta, river Ob forming a delta, river Lena over here forming a delta. So these rivers are draining or forming this, making this Siberian Plains. Now one thing happens over here. What happens is the lower courses, river has three courses: the upper course, or the higher course, or the course when the, or that part of the river, or that phase of the river when it is moving in the highland areas. Next comes the second course, or the second phase is the middle phase, and lastly when it is about to drain into a ocean or a sea, we have the third phase or the lower phase of a river. So in the lower phases of the river, as you can find, the lower phases of the river are, all of them are draining into the Arctic Ocean. So the lower phases will be in these areas, and you all know that areas around the Arctic are very cold areas. Verkhoyangs, you all had done in one of the chapter. The Verkhoyangs is having the lowest, or Verkhoyangs has the or Verkhoyangs is having one of the lowest temperatures in the world. So you all can understand from this that these areas must be very cold, and in winter season these areas must be frozen. So these waters are frozen most of the time. So what happens is during the winters, the rivers, the lower parts or the mouth of the rivers gets frozen. So what is actually happening is, as the water is flowing, suppose the water starts or the water is flowing from these areas. I'm taking the example of river Lena, suppose. So the water is flowing from the Lake Baikal. The origin of the source over here is the Lake Baikal, as you can see, Lake Baikal over here. So as the river Lena starts moving from the Lake Baikal, and suppose this is the winter season. So when are we having winter in the northern hemisphere? Winter is from the months of November to February. So as the river Lena is moving from Lake Baikal, what is actually happening is it is moving, it is water, but as it comes near the mouth, or as it comes to areas around the mouth or near the lower courses of the river, it finds that all this area is frozen. The water is also, the water of the river, the existing, or the water which was there in the river previously also, that has frozen. So everything over here is frozen, the sea is frozen. So the water which is moving, the fresh water which is moving from the Lake Baikal area and going to this area, the fresh water is unable to drain into the sea. Why? Because the ice being solid, frozen water is solid, so it is acting as an obstruction. So this obstruction is not allowing the water of the river to move into the sea. That is, and what that is, and move into the ocean. What that is actually resulting in is that the water unable to move into the sea, and with more water coming from the rear end or from behind, the water which has or water near these areas, they overflow into the banks of the river. So this overflowing, so when there is overflowing, it as it is unable to flow into the ocean or the sea, as it is unable to reach the mouth of the river. The mouth of the river is that point of the river in which it flows into an ocean or a sea. So when it is unable to reach the mouth of the river, what is actually happening is that the water gets overflowed. So when there is lot of overflowing of water, and when there is a lot of accumulation of water, if there is overflowing of water, there will be water on the banks. And in winter over here, it is, these areas are near the Arctic Circle, so these areas receive slanting rays of the sun. So those slanting rays of the sun are unable to evaporate that huge amount of water which the rivers are overflowing into the plain areas. So what is happening is that when there is a lot of water accumulation in these plainland areas, it is giving rise to swamps and marshes, what you call in Hindi as daldal. So daldals or swamps and marshes are being formed over here in these areas. So the Siberian plains are swampy, the Siberian plains are marshy areas. I hope that was clear to you all. Next we move on to the Turan Plains. Now the Turan Plain is the area around the Aral Sea. Aral Sea you can find over here. Aral Sea. Aral Sea, it is said that it used to be bigger, but then this Aral Sea has been closing in and is becoming smaller and smaller every century. And it is said that maybe in a few centuries, a few thousand years, Aral Sea will no more be here because of the closing of the plates. So whatever it is, the Aral Sea area, if you find, look at the Aral Sea area, you will find two very peculiar sounding rivers. The two rivers over here which I am talking of is the Amudarya over here, and the Sirdarya. You can locate them, the Amudarya and the Sirdarya. So this Amudarya and the Sirdarya, these are originating in the Pamirs, the mountains of Pamirs. You can find Pamir over here. The Amudarya and the Sirdarya originating in the Pamir areas, and then flowing on or draining into the Aral Sea. So this Amudarya and the Sirdarya, they are also forming a plain over here. So this plain area is called the Turan Plains. Now the Amudarya and the Sirdarya are draining into the river, draining into the Aral Sea over here. Aral Sea, once it used to be big, but now you can see it is now landlocked. Landlocked meaning it is not having any access or any outlet into a bigger ocean or an open ocean, an ocean or open sea. So over here, due to this land, and just because the Amudarya and Sirdarya are not moving out into any open ocean or into an open sea, and they are draining into the Aral Sea, this is a case of inland drainage. Inland drainage, the term inland drainage means that whenever there is any kind of, or whenever a river flows in or does not or is not able to enter a open ocean or an open sea or a bay, then it results in an inland drainage. So this over here, Amudarya, Sirdarya, this plain land over here, the Turan plain land, is a plain land and an example of inland drainage. Next, when we talk of the Central Highlands, coming to the Central Highlands, as I was telling in the previous lecture, this area of India, this peninsular area actually was cut off and actually was not there in this Asian part. It was there somewhere around Africa. As it started moving, and started moving upwards, it crashed onto the Tibetan plate, Indo-Tibetan plate, and when that crash happened, folding resulted. There was a folding, and the fold did not happen in just one. There was not just one big fold which resulted. There were actually three main important folds which happened. So those foldings which happened gave rise to so many mountainous areas, and also the plateaus over here, the plateau of Tibet over here, the plateau of Iran. So these this folding action, because of the joining of the peninsular India on this onto the Asian part or the Indo-Tibetan plate, resulted in these or in the formation of these mountains. And when we look at the mountains and the mountain range, we will find that this Pamir over here, Pamir is also a highland area. So this Pamir area, if you'll just look at, you will find that all, it seems as if all the mountain ranges start from the Pamir. You will find that Suleiman, there's the Hindukush, there's the Tian Shan, there's the Karakoram, there's the Himalayas, there's the Kunlun. So it seems as if all the mountain ranges start from this Pamir. That is why Pamir is called a Pamir. This area is called the Pamir Knot. Knot, as you all know, in Hindi we call it Gittha or Ghat. So when we tie a rope, when we make a knot, we'll find that a few strands of the rope come out from the knot. So, or a few parts of the rope come out from the knot. So this area is also representing something like a knot like structure. So a physical knot over here, a mountainous knot, this area is called, that is why called the Pamir knot. It, and most of the mountain ranges over here, the high mountain ranges, they start from this Pamir knot area. And if we just look at the mountain ranges, you will find that the mountain ranges start from this or are covering this entire area. You will find that they are moving this way and going up to this area. You will find that it is a continuous, nearly a continuous range. So it starts from this area, is called the Asia Minor area. So this area, the parts of Turkey over here, is called the Asia Minor area. So the mountain ranges start from here, if you can follow, and they are moving towards this Indian part, going up to these Chinese parts, towards Russia, and then it is fading out. And you will find that the mountain ranges are covering, or the highland areas are covering, a huge amount of area. So it's you will find that it starts from the Bering Sea area over here and ends at the Asia Minor area over here. So these are moving in all directions, and these form the core mountain groups. Now, which are the mountain ranges are actually divided into two parts, because as I said, this Pamir Knot area, it seems as if the mountains are coming out from the Pamir Knot area. So the mountains are divided into two parts, or two groups actually. The mountain ranges towards the west of the Pamir Knot, and the mountain ranges towards the east of the Pamir Knot. Now, when we are talking of the mountain ranges towards the west of the Pamir Knot, there are two very prominent ranges. It is the Hindukush Range and the Suleiman Range. So the Hindukush and the Suleiman Range, these are found in the countries of Pakistan and Afghanistan. So the Hindukush ranges from the Indian area. There's a bit in India also. Then we have in Pakistan, a bit in Afghanistan, and the Suleiman Range mostly in Pakistan. So the Suleiman Range first. The Suleiman Range is there in the, as you can see, the direction of the Suleiman Range. It is the southwestern direction, and the southwestern direction, one of the mountain ranges is not mentioned in your book. It is not mentioned over here also. There is another mountain range over here in the southern part of the Suleiman Range. It is the Kirthar Range. So the Suleiman Range starts over here. It moves on to the Kirthar. These are actually names, different names given, but these are, you will find that these are nearly continuous ranges. So after the Suleiman Range comes the Kirthar. After that it extends up to the Zagros Mountains over here. You can find the Zagros, and from the Zagros Mountains you will find that they move on to the Taurus Mountains in Turkey. So from this Suleiman Range, after the Suleiman Range we have the Kirthar Range, and then we have, so the Suleiman Range over here we can find it starts from this area and extends up to the Taurus mountain areas, or it joins, or it is the this continuation of the Suleiman Range we have as the Kirthar over here, the Zagros over here in near Iran, and then up to the Taurus mountains. Next comes the Hindukush. The Hindukush mountains over here, as you can find, the Hindukush mountain is lying not towards, as we found that Suleiman Range was in the southwestern direction, Hindukush mountain is in the western direction of the Pamir Knot. And the Hindukush mountains, they are they run into, or they are continuing as the Elbrus mountains over here, Elbrus mountains over here in Iran. The Hindukush Mountains, the Suleiman, or if we look at this area, we'll find that there are two very important plateaus. If you look over here, we have the plateau of Iran, and then over here you will find the Anatolian Plateau. The Anatolian Plateau you will find over here. So the Anatolian Plateau over here and the plateau of Iran over here. So these are intermontane plateaus. When we talk of or when we say that some plateau is an intermontane plateau, what it actually means is that there are, or it is surrounded by mountains on all the sides. So looking at the plateau of Iran over here, we'll find that we have the Chagai mountain range over here, the Elbrus mountains over here, the Zagros mountains over here, and in between we have the plateau of Iran. So this is a classic example of a intermontane plateau. Intermontane, there are mountains, and in between there is a plateau. Also looking at the Anatolian Plateau over here, we have the Pontine Mountains, the Taurus Mountains. So over here we have the Anatolian Plateau, and it is lying in between the and it is lying over there in between the Taurus Mountains, and there's the Pontine Mountains, and this area is called the Asia Minor area. Asia Minor as in the small part of Asia over here. That is why it is the Asia Minor area. So this was about the western side, or the western ranges from the Pamir Knot. Next, or in the next video lecture, we'll be doing about the mountain ranges which are there in the eastern side, and also other parts of this chapter. Now that I hope that it was or you all understood something about the central highland parts and also the northern lowland parts, you understood how to locate maps, or how to locate areas on the maps, and how to understand the physical features by looking at the maps. And also I'm hoping that you all will be trying to read maps, and will be learning, or will be trying or taking maps enthusiastically, or reading maps enthusiastically. And the next part of this chapter will be covered in the coming lectures. Till then, please stay safe, complete the assignments which are given, and if you all are having any problems, please ask in the comment sections. And please stay safe, be safe, and keep everyone around you safe. Thank you.